Okay, so let us start today with respect to the loops. Okay, these are loops in Java. Very important, guys. Very important with respect to the even from the interview perspective, because whatever the strings programs, right? They will be asking, or array programs they will be asking with respect to the interview. It is very important. It will be helpful for us to write the programs in interview with respect to the strings, and even with the interview programs with respect to arrays, and not only with respect to that, even with respect to the automation side in the Selenium, where we'll be trying to write the various programs, like trying to iterate some list that we have, or with respect to iterating a particular collection of elements. So there mostly this loops will be widely used. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with the loop, that is for loop in Java. Okay, so today let us start with respect to the for loops in Java. So the for loop basically a loop in Java, and is a control flow statement used for executing a block of code multiple times. See, it is basically control flow statement used for executing a block of code multiple times. A block of code multiple times. It is typically used when the number of iterations is known beforehand. Iterations is nothing but the number of times the code should be executed is known. That is nothing but an iteration. Okay, this will be syntax, guys. We will be writing for, we'll be writing an initialization statement, a semicolon, a condition where we have to end the for loop, and again a semicolon, and then increment or decrement statement, and then whatever the statements that need to be executed, that many number of iterations or that many number of times. Okay, that will be including inside the for loop. So there are various components of a for loop. As we just saw, initialization. Initialization is executed once before the loop start, and used to declare and initialize loop control variables. Okay, and condition is basically evaluated before each iteration. If true, the loop continues. If the condition is false, the loop stops. And update is the increment or decrement executed after each iteration to modify the loop variables. Okay, now this is the simple program. Now let me switch back to Eclipse. Okay, here with respect to the Eclipse, now suppose there is a requirement. First let us see the basic syntax, like how to declare an for loop, but let us see with respect to an example. Okay, so here consider that we have a requirement that we have to print the number. Okay, print number 1 to 5. We have to print the number 1 to 5. This is the requirement. Consider this is the requirement. So first thing to consider here, okay, first thing to consider here is we are aware of what are the number of iterations that we want to perform. How we are aware? Okay, we have to print what numbers? We have to print 1 to 5. So how many times we have to execute the loop? We have to print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times we have to execute the loop. Are we aware of the number of iterations? Yes, we are aware. If this is a kind of requirement we have got, where we are aware the number of iterations that can be performed with respect to some, or a number of iterations is aware with respect to the code that need to be executed, then we go with the for loop. Now how to create the for loop? Let us see. For, it is a case sensitive keyword, reserved keyword in Java. For, we cannot write for in capital like this, because for is a reserved keyword. For, okay, then we will be having open close small brackets, where we'll be writing the concept of for, and then we will be having open close flower braces. Okay, now the first statement is initialization statement. Initialization statement is nothing but from where we have to start our loop. From where we have to start in this particular condition, we have to start from 1. So for that, we have to take one integer variable. Int of I is equals to 1. With this particular initialization statement inside the for, we are trying to tell from where we have to start our for loop. By looking at this, from where we are trying to tell, we are trying to tell that we are trying to start our for loop with 1, with I is equals to 1. We have to declare one variable and we have to tell from where we have to start. So this is the initialization. Next, we have to enter one semicolon stating that we have ended the initialization part. Now we have to specify the condition. Condition where the for loop should end. Okay, where it should end? It should end at when the value of I, okay, when the value of I is lesser than 6. Right? If it is equal to 6, we have to end our for loop. But until when we have to execute the for loop? When the value of I is lesser than 6. Okay. Now you might ask, how we will be incrementing the value of I? For that, we have to write the next statement, I plus plus. So what this will do is, it will first start our for loop with I is equals to 1, and it will go until the value of I is lesser than 6. That is, it will go until 5. And how the value of I will be incremented each time? With the help of this increment operator. Right? Now what we have to print, or what are the set of statements that need to be executed 5 times? The print statement. In the print statement, what we will be printing? We will be printing the value of I, because the value of I is nothing but 1 to 5. Run as Java application. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is known as a for loop. And how to write a for loop? This is the way. Now suppose there is a condition tomorrow that print something from 1 to 1000. Then what is the condition that we will change here? The condition that we will change is, we have to execute the same for loop, because we have to print from 1 to 1000. The only condition that we have to change is this particular condition, or the only thing that we need to change is the condition, because we have to execute the set of statement until the value of I is lesser than 1001, right? Lesser than 1000, like this. Or you can write it as like this: when the value of I is lesser than or equal to 1000. Until then, print like this. See, if I execute, Control S save, right click, run as Java application, 1 to 1000. Right? I am printing the numbers from 1 to 1000. Why I am going with the for loop? Because I am aware that what is the number of iterations I should perform. So I am going with the for loop. There are multiple loops in Java, guys. We have for loop, while loop, do while loop. Okay. But when to go with for loop? When the number of iterations are known to the programmer at that particular time, we can go with the for loop. Okay. Iterations are nothing but the number of times the code inside the for loop should be executed. That time we can go with the for loop. Okay. Now consider there is one string. Okay, let me try to remove this and let me try to explain one more thing. Consider there is one string. String yes is equals to apple. This is a string, right? Now we have seen that the strings are represented in the form of index, right? The strings are represented in the form of index, where index starts from 0, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? These are the index of a string. Now, in order to print each character from the string, what loop we can choose? Are we aware what is the size of the string? We are aware. How we can go with extracting the size? Either I can write as 5 or I can write as yes dot length. Length is a method in the string which will help us in identifying the size of a particular string that we are trying to print, right? So what I will do, I'll take one for loop and I'll try to initialize. So from where the index starts, I want to go with left to right. This direction I want to go, right? So what I will do, I will take one initialization variable int of I is equals to 0. Why I am taking 0? Because the index of the string starts from 0. If you don't want to start from A, you want to start from somewhere like P, then give that particular index. For example, give it as 2. Okay, until where I have to go? I have to go till length of the string, where I is lesser than s dot length. Length is a method in the string class, and then I'll increment. Now for loop is ready. What it will do? It will traverse from here, from PLE. It will traverse this PLE because 0, 1 and 2 and length of the string. Okay, length of the string is 5. I have given lesser than, so value of I is 4 is lesser than 5. 5 is lesser than, 5 is not lesser than 5, it is equal to 5. So it will break my for loop. This is the condition where I am telling when I should come out of the for. Okay, now there is one method, that is s dot character at method. I'm taking the println statement, s dot char method I have, where I can try to specify the value of I, which is index, and it will try to print me each character from the within the loop that I have specified. So from 2 to length of the string, that is 2 to 4, that is PL. So let us see the output, CPL. Okay, same thing applies for arrays as well. If suppose I'm trying to declare one array, okay, I'll try to declare one array, int of a is equals to, like this I'm trying to declare, and this has some elements 1, 5, 8, something like this. Okay, and I need to print all the elements present in the string a. Then what I'll be doing, I'll be taking one for loop. Okay, for loop from where even the arrays will be starting from index 0. So for that, int of I is equals to 0, and there is one reserved keyword, final reserved keyword with respect to arrays to find the size or to find the length, that is a dot length, and then I plus plus, and then let me try to print I is equals to 0, I is lesser than a dot length. Okay, then I'll try to use this out statement, and I'll try to print a of index I. This we will be seeing in this will be seeing in arrays concept. Don't worry. Okay, this is how we can try to iterate an array by using the for. Okay, now consider the old program, guys. Consider the previous one, that is string. Right, we had one string. Now if the requirement is you have to navigate from right to left. You have to navigate from left to right in this direction. Okay, in this direction, from left to right, then you have to use increment operator. But if you have to iterate from right to left, this is left to right, this is right to left. If you have to iterate a string from left to right, you can go with increment operator, and index can start from 0. Okay, let me take it as 0. If you want to iterate from right to left, then index will always start from s dot length minus 1, and we have to take I is greater than or equal to 0, then decrement operator. So this will help us in printing the string in reverse order. Run as Java application. See, reverse order. Correct? So whenever you want to iterate a string from left to right, go with increment operator and set the initialization and conditions accordingly. But if you want to go from right to left, then we go with decrement operator and we try to initialize the conditions accordingly. Okay, so this is a for loop. Now let us switch back to Word. Okay, here this is the example of a simple loop. So if you try to print, it will give you 1 2 3 4 5. Then here this is an initialization where we are trying to initialize, and here we are doing a conditional check. If it is true, so the loop runs. If it is false, it will not. Okay, this is loop body that prints the iteration 1 and update statement. Condition we are trying to check. Okay, then reverse for loop we just saw with respect to the decrement operator. Okay, then there is for each loop. I'll explain that, but before that let me try to explain one more thing, like with respect to the condition. Okay, see, the condition in a for loop is very important, guys. Okay, the condition that we specify. For example, here the condition that we have specified is this. This is very important because we have to end our for loop. We are trying to tell when to end our for loop, right? For example, if I'm taking the old example where I have to print from 1 to 5, okay, I lesser than or equal to 5, I plus plus. See, I'll tell you I'll tell the iterations now. Okay, I'll tell the iterations. I see. First time, what is the value of I? The first time the value of I is 1, right? Is 1 lesser than or equal to 5? Okay, is 1 lesser than or equal to 5? Yes, it is lesser than or equal to 5. So this will return as true. Okay, so that's the reason it will go inside the for loop and it will print 1. Okay, now what it will do? It will try to increment the value of I. Now what is the value of I? Value of I will be incremented to 2. Okay, now again, once it prints, it will increment, again it will go with the for loop check. Okay, now what is the value of I? I value is 2, right? Because we have increment, correct? Next, what happens? It will try to check, is 2 lesser than or equal to 5? Yes, 2 is lesser than or equal to 5. Then it will return us 2. Then what it will do? It will go inside the for loop, print 2. Okay, then what it will do? Once it is print, it will try to increment the value of I to 3. Okay, then what is the value of I? The value of I is 3. Okay, is 3 lesser than or equal to 5? Yes, this will return us true and it will go inside the for loop. And what it will do? It will try to print 3. Then what it will do? It will try to increment the value of I to 4. Okay, then what is the value of I now? I value is 4. Is 4 lesser than or equal to 5? Yes, 4 is lesser than 5, right? So this will return us true. Then it will print, go inside the for loop, print 4. Okay, then it will increment the value of I to 5. Okay, now what is the value of I? I value is 5. Okay, now is 5 lesser than 5? No, 5 is not lesser than 5. Is 5 equal to 5? Yes, 5 is equal to 5. Then this will return us true. Okay, this will return us true. And then it will go inside the for loop, print 5. Okay, then it will increment the value of I to 6. Okay, now again what happens? Now what is the value of I? I value is 6, right? Is 6 lesser than or equal to 5? No, this is greater than 5. So this will return as false. So once this condition occurs, it will not go inside the for loop and execute the println statement. It will try to break the for loop and come out of the for loop and execute the other set of statements that we will be writing. Okay, system.out.println end above execution ends. I'm just trying to give one statement. Okay, above execution ends. Above loop ends. Above execution of loop end. I'll write it as like this. Okay, run as Java application. See, we are getting this. Yes, we are getting this. Right? So this is how the for loop works. Okay, this is how the for loop works. It works with the same way with respect to the strings, with respect to the arrays. Okay, the only thing is that the condition varies. Okay, so this is the for loop and this is the simple for loop. Now let us see the for loop that is this kind of for loop, the for each. Okay, the for each loop, the for each loop are known as enhanced for loop. Okay, it is also called as enhanced for loop. Now for the enhanced for loop to execute, we should be having something predefined. It should be either an array. Okay, int of a is equals to 5, 3, something, some values. Okay, now we have some predefined thing. Now in order to write the enhanced version of the for loop, we have to write for. Okay, we have to write for, and we have to declare one variable int of z, and this z will be assigned to the predefined array colon z colon a. Okay, colon, that's it. So this will try to iterate entire elements of the A. See, system.out.println Z. That's it. I don't want to give the increment. I don't want to give the condition. No, we can't specify. See, like this 5, 3, 8, 4, 2. But in order to go with this particular for each loop, we have to have something predefined. For example, an array. We have to predefine. Okay, so for this particular for each loop to go, we have to have something predefined. It should be array. For example, it should be an array, or we can go with collections, but let us consider an array for now. Okay, so it is predefined, so for that we can go with the for each loop. Clear? So this is the for loop. Now there are some situations, or there are some conclusions with respect to the for loop. That is, when to use for loop. When the number of iteration is known beforehand, we can go with for loop. When iterating over array, string, collection, we can use for each loop. Okay, there should be something predefined, right? So for that reason, we are trying to have for each. Okay, and when we need a counter variable for calculation. So what is the counter variable? The counter variable for calculation, that is a plus plus, a minus minus, increment, decrement. So whenever we need that, we can go with for loop. Okay,